Thanks for downloading the Racing Postcast. Listen online and on mobile.
Hi there, welcome along to the Racing Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and in the company of my Racing Post colleagues, Catherine Fiddler and Peter Thomas, we are going to discuss the Fillies and Mares series, which comes to a shuddering halt this weekend. Unfortunately, it's really brightened up the January pages of the Racing Post, but the top three will be revealed, and we're going to talk about some of the names. We'll go down memory lane and look at some of the great female racehorses that have lit up the sport for centuries and beyond. Now then, Kat, first of all, the series has sparked a lot of debate. Thankfully, no one's ignored it, which is what we were intending to do.
Definitely.
How did the judging process come about? First up, how did we get to 50? Because, I mean, I think I put a tweet out in October to try and garner some initial interest. And I must have had 300 names thrown back at me. It was quite tricky just to get the top 50, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was a fun tweet to comb through. Thanks for typing all those out. Yeah, we ended up with a very long list. Your tweet kicked it off, and then we put it out to everyone at the Racing Post. Obviously, with a wealth of knowledge here, the list got longer. And, we've got the likes of John Randall, our historian. We've got all the, the ratings teams who could give us, a more factual list of who they thought was best. So, yeah, we put a whole massive pot together. And then a core team of a few of the Johns and Paul Keeley. And
so that's just people called John, in case you're wondering what a John is. It's not an actual journalistic job. But
and then we got down to the final 50. Then we had to order that 50. That was even more tricky. And obviously, it's a very, very subjective list. There were some heated debates about who should be in, who should be where.
Did anyone get very stroppy about it? I can imagine John Randall was absolutely adamant that something from the 17th century should be above some Johnny come lately that we wanted to put higher.
No, it was pretty. I mean, Steve Dennis kind of took the lead, and I think not many people want to argue with Steve Dennis. So he knows his stuff.
Excellent stuff. And Pete, were you invited to partake or not?
I was, as with most people, I was allowed to chip in with a few names here and there, but basically I don't want to get involved in the violent process of, it sounded, I think there were punch-ups in the office I heard. I don't know what Catherine's talking about.
Absolutely brutal. It really, really was. I mean, I knew it would cause some flare-ups, but I didn't expect it to be quite as vicious as it was.
But that's the way it should be. I mean,
exactly. That's what the whole thing's about. I think, Kat, we went into it not trying to produce a kind of necessarily a definitive. I mean, someone with who's swallowed a lifetime's worth of ratings manuals could probably, justifiably point to one or two of these being slightly out of order. But it was more about a great trip down memory lane than anything else, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. The criterion was really iconic mares. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to be very scientific about it, we could go on ratings. A lot of them might end up in a different order. Then again, we had Kinsem in, the 1800s. She never got an RPR. So,
I don't know why.
We've got, because we have gone back quite a long way, it would be really very difficult to compare them on a, proper numerical scale like that.
Right, well, it says Kat's going to bring in some stats from the series. So come on, hit me.
Stat time.
What have we got?
Have we got a graphic saying cat stats? Or
no,
something?
We haven't. We should have, but it's quite a low-budget production, so you can call them cat stats.
I can sing a jingle.
Can you?
I won't. No, I won't.
People I didn't know you could sing.
I can't.
I know you're a very keen dancer, but.
Oh yeah, I can bust the move, but.
Come on then. What have we got?
We've got 7 ARC winners.
Okay, Pete. Name the 7 ARC winners. Name 5 of the ARC winners. Impress me.
5? I have no idea what 5
come on.
are. I can't
you
even
must
remember.
have 5. You must be able to name 1.
I can name Trev. There you go. How about that?
Fantastic.
I can name All Along. I presume we've got All Along somewhere.
Yeah.
Alley France.
Yes. Yeah. See, you're doing better than you thought, aren't you?
Who else have we got? That never won a...
Last year, Pete. Last year.
Oh, we got Daydream, haven't we?
Yeah, we got Daydream.
Yep.
Daydream. What on earth won the... Well, I can't remember what won.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like when people say what won the Grand National last year. I can't remember, but I can say every single national winner between 70 and 90, no problem.
Yeah. We had Found, Zarkava and Urban Sea.
There you go.
I think a lot of people have come on actually to say they thought Urban Sea would be higher.
Yeah,
but I think
it wasn't Broodmares,
exactly,
was it?
That's what kind of elevated her, was obviously, she's gone to stud being absolutely incredible. But, she won the ARC. You couldn't say it was the best ARC of possibly of even the 90s. So, she went in the 40s. And
so 7 ARC winners, what else?
7 ARC winners, 26 classic winners. He won 47 classics between them. including 2 Irish Derby winners, of course, Salsabil and Balanchine. We've got, we had a Preakness Stakes winner as well. So classics on both sides of the Atlantic. We had 4 Fillies Triple Crown winners among those classic winners: Pretty Polly, Sun Chariot, Scepter, and Oh So Sharp. We only had 5 jumpers on the list.
5?
I don't know
Is that
how
all we
many.
ended
Yeah,
up
I
with?
don't know how people feel about that.
Well, how do you feel
Obviously-
about that, Joe? I mean, sorry, Pete, I mustn't refer to your old 90s Sporting Life nickname there, but Pete, what do you think? 5 out of 50 jumpers, that's not good, is it?
No, it's not. It's quite surprising, really. You would have thought, with the longevity of careers, you would have thought that there would have been more mares that would have captured the public imagination. But I don't know. I think perhaps it's just that it's tougher for mares over jumps. I think that's half the problem.
Despite the fact that roughly 1 in 3 jumps races now being restricted to mares, so perhaps that'll turn.
Well, of course, that would bring, if we wanted to start arguing, we could talk about Quivega getting in there, having spent a career beating up on other mares. You know, that's, to me, is a bit of a worry. But
where did she end? Quivega,
She was
44.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going to come to that, Pete, because that's one of my big sore points on this list.
Me too.
The positioning of Quivega in relation to Annie Power, I can't have it at all.
there you go.
Who was the mare or the jumper rather, who was the last to miss the cut catch? Can you think?
Oh,
I wanted L'Aventure on there, but that's just one of those personal ones.
Yeah, it might have. I mean, we had the likes of, maybe Lady Cricket, who were a couple of the other jumpers. Flaky Dove, actually. Flaky Dove and Asian Maze. Like a Butterfly. Myself.
Oh, no, she wasn't. Yeah. Myself would have been on there. Okay. So 5 jumpers. What was the most popular letter to begin with? I reckon it was an S.
I
know you haven't actually done them because it's quite a crap stat, but
I think we had a lot of M's as well. Yeah, S.
I think I'd go S out of that lot. Okay,
Yeah,
jolly
definitely.
good.
A couple more. Leading trainer. Obviously, it's a series about fillies. He's got to be Sir Henry Cecil. He had 3.
Come on then, Pete. Name Henry Cecil's 3. Come on, have you been down the pub?
Not yet. I'm just hoping to go there quite soon. You keep delaying it by asking all these questions.
Well, come on, you must be able to name one of Henry Cecil's 3 fillies that is on the top in the top 50.
Oh So Sharp.
Well
in
done.
There, yeah.
Well done.
Okay.
You could have had.
Bosra Sham.
Yes.
In there?
Yeah, and you're going to go for the hat trick.
No, I'll let you nod this. I'll put it over to the back post for you.
I reckon it might have been. It says here, Indian Skimmer. That was gettable, wasn't it?
Yep.
That was gettable. Go on then, Kat, and round off Kat stats with.
Best stat, Freddie Head, only horseman to feature on the trainer and jockey list.
Oh, good.
With 2 star French milers, Miesk and Goldakova.
If we were doing a Peter Thomas list, who would be right up there, Pete, who perhaps wasn't necessarily on the official list? Who's your favourite female racehorse?
Well, there are a couple there that are sort of, I think, a bit low down in the list, particularly Snow Fairy. I think is a disgrace that she's number 33 when there are some pretty ordinary ones above her. I think Ridgewood Pearl is one I thought should be on there. I mean, to me, she was an absolute wonderful horse, but she didn't stay around that long. That's the trouble.
Oh, we were hoping for a bit of friendly debate, and he started producing words like disgrace.
That was a disgrace. I can't believe it.
HR are going to have to get involved in this. Yeah, no. Kat, what about you? Anything that you thought was a terrific injustice that you fought for and got overruled?
No, I mean, well, funny you mentioned John Randall liking, arguing for horse some centuries ago. Scepter, I would have really liked to have seen her higher. She won 4 classics. She was 4th in the Derby. She was just spectacular. And, in a time when, there wasn't a fillies programme as such, anything that we've got today. She had to take on the boys. I thought she was brilliant. Would have liked to have seen her higher.
Pete can tell us what it was like to go and see Scepter run, almost.
Yeah, in my early years, I was quite young when I saw her, but yeah, she was very good. She ran every single race in black and white though, which was unfortunate.
It's no good though. Well, how old were you, Pete, when you first saw a fillies classic? I think I went to the Oaks in 1979. Was that Bareem? Yeah, I think so.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Not a lot's changed in that time, but. You probably got dragged along in fairly early on in the 20th century, didn't you?
I didn't really get dragged along to many meetings. I didn't. My parents weren't that interested in racing, so I tended to watch it all, bunk off school and watch the Derby on the telly, that kind of stuff. So yeah, my early memories were, I guess, horses like Mysterious and Altesse Royal. Probably a bit before yours.
Before our time, Kat. I mean, I think the thing with a list like this is that when you first get into racing, the horses that are prominent at the time, you have this elevated view of them, don't you?
Yeah.
Like my favourite horse of all time is Ekbalko, who you couldn't make a ratings case for, but I just found him so charismatic, and I've just always absolutely loved the horse. And when you look back in this, sober. So doesn't sober bring back some memories, Pete? Not S-O-B-E-R. You can't remember that, but she was absolutely fantastic. And the day she won the Stewards' Cup, on the near side was absolutely terrific, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in days when horses were more often campaigned very honestly and honestly in the sense that they were out and about doing it all the time. And she was certainly one of them. Yeah, some wonderful memories.
Okay, when's this going out, producer Sam? Are we putting this out on the Friday, or are we going to wait till the weekend?
Going to wait till Sunday.
Are we going to wait till Sunday? Okay, well, in that case, we can reveal the top three, can't we? Because we don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
So let's pretend it's Sunday, and the top three was revealed today. And Kat, in reverse order, give us them.
Number 3, we've got Dawn Run. 2, we've got the wonderful Pebbles. And at 1, might be a surprise for some people, Pretty Polly.
Okay, and just talk us through the process that arrived at that, because obviously Dawn Run and Pebbles are real heartstring tuggers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everybody absolutely adored those two. Pretty Polly a little bit further back and maybe wouldn't have quite the same public affection, but was there just a cast iron case on quality, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I mean, we had to take the recency bias out of it and look at, what did these horses achieve. Pretty Polly, I mean, she won the Triple Crown, she won the Coronation Stakes, 2 Coronation Cups, a Jockey Club Cup, a Champion Stakes. And more than that, she was 9 from 9 at 2. She won the St Ledger and the Park Hill, so that's a pretty busy couple of days. She won 22 of her 24 starts, including an unbeaten run of 15. So, and like we said, Bloodstock didn't really come into it, but she is also an incredibly important mare in terms of the Bloodstock side of it. So yeah, I think, like you said, she might be unfamiliar to some people, but when you read about her, you think she really is a worthy winner.
Excellent. Could you quibble with that, Pete?
No, not at all. No, I've actually got a picture of Pretty Polly on my wall at home, and I've just spent the last 2 days looking up all about her, and she really was quite remarkable. Not particularly fashionably bred, and she was around at the same time as Scepter, which seems hard to imagine.
Remind us when that was.
That was sort of turn of the 20th. I think she was born 1899 or 1900 or something.
Yeah,
in 1901, I think she was
Pretty
born.
Polly was 1901.
Yeah,
Scepter was
right.
1898.
Yeah, that's it. But as Kat said earlier, that very often the fillies in those days were campaigned very much against the colts, and Pretty Polly beat the Derby in 2000. Guineas winner, and she basically beat up on all the best colts, all the best fillies, and kept on and on doing it. And she was only beaten, I think she went to France on heavy ground where she had to give some ludicrous amount of weight to colts over there. And then she was beaten in the Ascot Gold Cup on her last run, which you could certainly put down to stamina. Sadly, she was retired straight after that, but became an absolutely wonderful broodmare.
Fantastic stuff. Pebbles or Dawn Run for you, Peter?
Well, it's very difficult to say anything against Dawn Run, isn't it? Because you'll get lynched on your way home. But I was a massive Pebbles fan. It was interesting. I've had many long chats with Clive Britton. He would talk for hours about Pebbles. Shows sort of the fine line between greatness and not quite mediocrity, but being just a sort of run-of-the-mill good horse. The races that she won, that Clive said she just wouldn't have won had he not been a canny old trainer. There was one race, I think it was the Champion Stakes, where he deliberately fell over on the walkway out to the course because he didn't want us going to the parade, and he managed to trick them into letting her go down straight away.
There's a few trainers that like that excuse of falling over at the races, isn't it?
Exactly. There was another one where it was the Eclipse against Rainbow Quest, and he managed to get the farrier apparently to pretend to replate her so she could calm down a bit. And Jeremy Tree was apparently going incandescent with rage, or they didn't quite know what was going on.
Blimey, right. It sounds like when Muhammad Ali's corner tore his glove after Henry Cooper.
Exactly. It was like that's Clive Britton for you. He said every time I did it for the good of her. When he smuggled her into the Breeders' Cup with the beer lorries there around the back entrance, so she didn't have to go into the parade. He said, without me doing any of those things, she wouldn't have won any of those 3 races, and she could have been number 47 rather than number 2.
Incredible, absolutely amazing. And Dawn Run, I mean, such a legend, Cat, to win the Champion Hurdle and the Gold Cup. I mean, I'll just about forgive her now for beating Wayward Lad, who was my absolute favourite, and I lumped on him, and I still don't quite know how he got beat, but she was absolutely superhuman, and I'm sure, absolutely officially before your time, Kat, but you must have seen that footage of the return to the winners inclusion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and, it's not just that, she was the first horse to do it, the only horse to do it, decades on, we're still waiting for another.
We thought Annie Power might, but that's looking unlikely now, isn't it?
Oh,
OK, great
fingers
stuff.
crossed she comes back.
We'll have a quick break, and then we will look closer into the list, and we'll look perhaps at a couple more injustices and a few that we think have been possibly flattered by their position.
Get involved in the conversation with Racing Post on Facebook and Twitter.
OK, welcome back. Bruce Millington, Cat Fiddler and Peter Thomas are looking at the Queens of the Turf, the rundown from 50 to 1 that we've been conducting in the Racing Post all through January. Series has just concluded. Top 3, number 1, Pretty Polly. Number 2, Pebbles. Number 3, Dawn Run. Now, let's talk about a mare who we just mentioned before the break there, Annie Power. How did Annie Power only get to be number 41 here, Kat? Something's gone wrong, hasn't it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, to be honest, first of all, we don't know yet what she's going to go on to do. But, she's very popular. She's won a lot of good races. But we were really looking for icons. And, we had a lot of other mares on here who, fully deserved a higher place. I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to say that. I like Annie Power. I'm not I'm not a card-carrying member of the We Heart Annie Power fan club. I mean, she's brilliant. But, at the same time as well, as Tom Siegel would say, she should have won 3 times at Cheltenham, but she hasn't at the festival. No, it's not her fault.
What's she going to do? Break out of her box before the Mares's run and say, "No, I'm running the Champion Hurdle."
Yeah,
it's not her fault.
Yeah.
Oh, you will learn to love her. Peter, are you an Annie Power fan?
I'm a fan, but I'm not mad keen. I don't feel the same sense of injustice that you do. Obviously. Where would you put her? Who would you pick out the way?
I'd have her easily top 20. I'd have her somewhere between 20 and 30 at the minimum. I just think that, she was so good. And, like I say, not running in 3 Champion Hurdles wasn't her fault. She's very close to winning the Stayers Hurdle. She would have been a really good chaser, I think. Yeah, she might still be, but I kind of suspect that with this setback, we might see her go off and make little Annie Powers now. She's knocking on.
Yeah.
Come on then, what's your biggest injustice, Cat Fiddler? And as features editor and the person controlling this series, there shouldn't really be one, should there?
Exactly. I don't have too many complaints. Like I mentioned before, I'd have liked to see Scepter higher. I mean,
other than that, you're pretty proud of it, aren't you?
Exactly. I'm happy with it. I mean, Zenyatta, but for Mike Smith, would have been a lot higher. I'm just going to put that out there. Had she retired 20 from 20, she would have been.
You still blaming Smith for that?
No, I will never get over that.
Really?
Yeah.
You will. Pete, have a look at the list and tell me the numbers that you can't agree with. Now, you touched on one earlier, didn't you? Snow Fairy. Anything else that got your goat?
She was the main one. I still don't get how a filly who achieved what she did on various continents with the enormous number of setbacks she had and still managed to finish only 33rd is slightly beyond me. There were others. I mean, one of the things that I think strikes you looking at the list, the number of times all these horses have been beaten, which I find quite heartening, to be honest with you. That the ones who particularly the ones who finished up near the top, they were really strongly, boldly campaigned, which is presumably why they catch people's imaginations, get that iconic status. That they're not sort of wrapped in cotton wool at all. But of course, that means that throws up various anomalies. I mean, Miesque, for example, was beaten, I think, both by Indian Skimmer, who finished 21st. Miesque was 4th. Indian Skimmer was 21st, and she was beaten by Milligram as well, who I don't think actually doesn't make it onto the list, and yet Milligram beat Miesque in the QE2 as far as I remember. But that, it does throw out anomalies, and the horses like Miesque that were campaigned time and time again, they come to the fore. There's that body of work over a long period of time, which which I think we should all be thankful for. The Dunfermline was another one. I'm slightly baffled by Dunfermline, perhaps because she beat Alleged, and I didn't like that, but she was a pretty... In the context of this list, she finished 31st. She was a pretty poor, moderate 2-year-old. She was a moderate 4-year-old. She's basically there because of what she did in her 3-year-old career, and she was a poor broodmare as well. I don't know. I've never warmed to the horse, and I think I've seen her rated as a fantastic Oaks winner, but not for me. I don't think she should be that high. I think there are better horses than her that are way below her.
Well, putting this list together showed about 5 years off my life, so Pete, you can do the next one. But we actually only had 4 unbeaten fillies and mares on the list.
Oh, blimey.
Right, okay.
Which just shows, like you say, it's about the longevity, it's about the real adventurous campaigning that gets them to this iconic status. If a filly comes out, wins a classic or 2 at 3, wins maybe another big race, goes off to stud, should... almost soon forgotten about.
I think that's right. And I think there's a lesson there, particularly for the colts, isn't there, where sometimes they do far too much to protect an unbeaten record. And great, Shergar got beat. Loads of great horses got beat, didn't they?
Yeah.
You see the Stars didn't win his first race. Do you think, folks, there's a case for saying that an unbeaten record is actually slightly overrated then, Pete? And that, the fact that so many of these have got numbers other than 1 in their form strings suggests that the public are perfectly happy to forgive a defeat and indeed admire them all the more for trying. Maybe.
Absolutely. I'll rant about this till the cows come home. I will even say it of a horse like Frankel. I heard people who were saying, well, of course, if they'd run him in the Arc, he would have won it. Why do we need to run him in it? He would have won it, wouldn't he? And to me, that's just not what it's all about. You should be... It's hard to crab a horse like Frankel, obviously, but you should be out there. You should be trying to find the limits of a horse, not trying to protect its reputation. And I think that is shown in a list like this. Horses do get beaten, but you judge them on what they've done, not on their weakest days, but on their strongest days, on the days they really set out to thrill us. And you can't do that by hiding all the time. You've got to get out there and take on the best.
Correct. Now, I'm interested to know that if we'd done this list 2 years later, where do you think Winks might have ended up, Kat? Because, they're talking about going for another Cox Plate this year and then maybe taking on the world next year. There's half a chance she could force her way into the top 10 before she's finished, isn't
definitely
there?
With that, yeah. And I think even if she didn't come over here, I'd probably be in the Peter Moody school of thought. He was very annoyed that he had to bring Black Caviar over here to prove that she was the best.
That is absolutely right. Who do we think we are that a racehorse, unless it runs in Britain, can't be considered great? It's just pathetic. It really is.
Yeah. So, but
don't worry, Kat. You're still trying to get over the fact that I mentioned doing this list again in 2 years.
I've got another one, by the way. Are you interested?
Yeah, very much so. What, a list or?
No, not another list. I'm not
anomaly?
doing another list. This is again, like Kat's taken several years off my life. Much as it's been great fun. Triptyque, bang up there, one of my all-time favourites, but beaten pointless in the Guineas and the Oaks by Oh So Sharp.
Yeah.
Triptyque number 5, Oh So Sharp number 20. But again, Triptyque went on and did it. And Oh So Sharp was retired.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. I thought you were arguing that Oh So Sharp should have been above her. No, you're right, yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I am sort of arguing that Oh So Sharp should have been up there. If you say, well, it wasn't Oh So Sharp's fault she was retired, I think it was the only 2 times they met. She absolutely murdered Triptyque. It was down to the owner that she was retired after that and didn't get the chance to prove quite how good she was. But then these horses and we rely on owners and trainers to keep horses in training and to prove the full extent of their ability. You cannot sit there and say, well, she would have done this, she would have done that. You have to rely on what they've done on the racecourse. And if they've not been given the chance to do it, that's to our detriment, their detriment, and the detriment of the sport, I think. It's great to see all these boldly campaigned horses.
Good for you. Well said, Pete. I agree with every word of that. Kat, 2 more questions for you. 1, could we have done a top 100 in actual fact? We probably did have the ammo, didn't
yeah,
we?
Please,
easily.
We are actually doing a book on this later in the year, so we could actually make it the top 100, couldn't we? So,
yeah, we get a lot more jumpers in as well. If we did that, we'd have room for plenty more jumpers who just made the cut.
Good,
missed the cut.
That'll give you something to do in the latter part of the year, Peter. And finally, Kat, any other series along these lines? What have we had? We've had the greatest racehorses, haven't we? What else have we had, Pete? You've been doing these things for absolutely donkey's years.
We've had the greatest races and the favourite racehorses and the top
We haven't done courses, have we?
No, we did Great Greys. That was a good one.
Great Greys,
yeah,
we
no,
did,
haven't done
yeah.
courses.
So what's the next one, Kat?
Well, people keep asking when we're doing Kings of the Turf, but this seriously turned me into a radical feminist.
Piers
so
Morgan?
Never. Yeah, he's a big fan of the series, obviously. Yeah.
What can we do? We need another
we
one,
need,
don't we? We'll
Yeah,
have a
send in your
rest.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
When are we doing favourite features editors? Are we doing that one or not?
That's there's only one. Cat Fiddler wins that every single time. But seriously, folks, if you do have an idea for a series and this has triggered some thought, then email ideas@racingpost.com. I'm absolutely serious. We'd love to hear from you. I'm sure we will get another series, and if we do, I hope it's been as fun to put together as this has been, hasn't it, Kat?
Yeah, it has.
Pete, hasn't it been good putting this together?
It has been great fun, but the idea of it being 100 is I'm going to have to go and lie down in a darkened room for a while, I think.
Okay, well, when you're ready to contribute and get the lid back off your pen, Pete, we'll do it all again. Thank you very much, Peter Thomas. Thanks, Cat Fiddler. Thank you for watching. Hopefully that brought back some lovely memories of some great fillies and mares.
Thanks for downloading the Racing Postcast. Listen online and on mobile.